The prices of houses in Northern California, that seems to amaze everyone, and I think a lot of things have happened that account for what has happened here. We know that prices have accelerated over the last 18 months, probably 125%. I mean, just this year, you are looking at some locations that just since the beginning of the year in January, and we are now at September, have increased in value 50 to 60%. I think a couple of things have happened. In many of the areas that you call the corridor of Silicon Valley, first of all, we have almost no growth. We have communities that really cannot expand. And you know, about real estate, it's always land, land, land. They say location, location, location. Well, let's take it even a little further down and let's talk land, land, land. The land is the land. The land cannot be expanded beyond that which you have. And if you took the house and moved it to another part of the world, it would probably have half its value, but because it's sitting on that piece of land in that community, its value becomes stratospheric. So that's one thing, is that many of the communities up and down the corridor we call Silicon Valley have communities where they're not allowing much growth. So the land has become extremely valuable. The second thing that has happened, I think, is that you have people with huge amounts of wealth. I mean, Silicon Valley, the technology industry, all of that has created enormous pockets of wealth for many, many people, and they are not really price sensitive, especially when you get to the extreme high end where people can almost afford anything they want. And what they are looking for in that area of the world is something unique, something a one of a kind. They're collectors. They want to be on a certain street in a certain area, and they don't care basically what they pay for that kind of a property. The third thing we have seen is that as these companies become valued, we know that when they increase in value, that filters down to basically the appreciation that you see in the price of homes. So for every 10% in value perhaps that these companies gain, we'll see a 1 or 2% appreciation in the value of homes. And when some of these companies over the last 18 months have increased in valuation 2,000 and 3,000%, you then begin to understand what has happened. Now, as you move down into the real estate and you say, okay, what about the people that are move up, move around buyers? And here, that's probably 700,000 to 2 million. We see that they have maybe gone out of the communities that we're talking about where there's no growth, and they've started to filter down a little bit further, north, south, east, or west, to some of the other areas, which have caused them, of course, to appreciate in value. So you'll see that if you go to Pleasanton, there's been tremendous appreciation, or in Danville, or in Morgan Hill, or Gilroy. And then what compounds that is you have somebody like Cisco going into the Antelope Valley, where they're going to build the infrastructure, and they're going to support the community, and they're going to help teachers, and they're going to help the fire and police. And so people go down there and are able to buy homes, and that started appreciation. And then at the very, what we would call first-time home buyers, those who are trying to get in, they will come into these communities and go to communities where they will find fixer-uppers, or basically communities that are older communities where they will be able to get a foothold into the area. So even fixer-uppers have appreciated in value. And so when you look at it, it's sort of an understandable kind of process. It's like a domino effect that's basically started at the top, filtered down, and that's basically why. I think over time, what you will see, obviously, as these companies, maybe some of their valuation flattens out, and as some aren't here anymore, but we have the trieds and truths, and they will stay and become very successful and major dominant players, we will see that the appreciation will also start to begin to level and flatten off. But I think the market will still continue to be a very good market.